Hello all, welcome to Bharhash Productions. Today, I have another theory for you. Was Seto Kaiba actually a good duelist, or did he use his fortune to pay Maximilian Pegasus to make special cards just for him? Yeah, we all know he's a genius billionaire playboy basically the Tony Stark of the Yu-Gi-Oh universe. If Tony Stark had never grown a conscience, that is. The young chess champion, business mogul, and trust fund baby that lied, manipulated, and bullied his way up his adopted father's company is skilled in computer programming, engineering, and inventing advanced technology. His skills have gained him his #1 rank as the Duel Monsters champion. Or has it? Is Kaiba really as good as he claims to be? Or has he simply bought, threatened, and cheated the best cards from duelists around the world? And worse yet, has Kaiba Corp's dealings with Industrial Illusions owner Maximilian Pegasus gained him favors that the general population doesn't get? In short, is Seto Kaiba buying cards from Pegasus that were never mass-produced for the public as a way to stack his deck and cheat his way to the top ranks of Duel Monsters? I believe he is. You may ask, what does he stand to gain from cheating and ranking up in a children's card game? Why would Kaiba need to worry himself over a silly game where he's already a genius teenage billionaire in charge of a successful company? Well, let's go over the facts, and maybe I'll be able to convince you that Kaiba was never really that skilled at Duel Monsters, and used his money, intimidation, and bullying to win the duels, and to continue his business's success. Before we continue, I feel I need to let you know that I'm mostly going to only be covering Seto Kaiba from the 4Kids English dub of Yu-Gi-Oh! The one I grew up with and love. Trust me when I say, this will only make things harder on me to prove. If I was to pull from Season 0, or even the manga, this would help my cause so much more. Kaiba is much more of a jerk, and really just plain evil in the manga. At a young age, both the Kaiba brothers, who actually hadn't gotten their name yet, were forced into an orphanage after their parents died. Once there, Seto watched and cared for the only person he has ever come close to loving, his younger brother Mokuba. He told his brother that he would always watch over him like a father should. When Mokuba was being bullied, Seto would step in and protect him. Many people wanted to adopt Seto for his amazing intellectual mind, but he would never allow anyone to adopt him unless they also adopted his younger brother as well, leaving them both at the orphanage for quite a while. Until one day, a powerful and rich man by the name of Gozaburo Kaiba showed up at the orphanage, looking to gain some good PR. It is at this point we see the young Seto's manipulative nature kick in, as he demands a game of chess from Gozaburo, having seen the man on television playing chess in tournaments. And Seto, being good at chess himself, hopes he can get the influential man to adopt him and his brother if he beats him in a chess match. Gozaburo initially refuses the child's offer, rightly claiming he has more important things to do than beat a child at chess. Seto's first manipulation proceeds here as he tells Gozaburo that he would tell the press that he's afraid to play a game of chess with a child, playing on the man's ego, which to his credit does work. Seto then proceeds to beat him at his own game, and Gozaburo is forced to see that this kid is indeed very smart, and could possibly be some use to him. So he follows through with his promise to adopt the two boys, and in doing so, gives them their last name, Kaiba. Seto Kaiba's second showing of manipulation is already much worse, and begins the day his father, who has now set him on the course of heavy schooling and education so that one day he will be ready to take control over Kaiba Corp. He gives Seto $10 million as a birthday gift and tells him he can spend it any way he wants, but with the condition that Seto must pay him back 10 times the amount within the year. Seto then finds a small but growing company, one who cares for their employees, and buys 51% of the shares of the company. Then he demands the owner to buy back his shares at double the price, or he was going to shut down the company, causing everyone to lose their jobs. With no other choice, the owner of the company gives into the psychopath's demands so he can save his company and employees' well-being. Seto has now started to prey on good people and use what he considers a weakness within people, goodwill and caring for others, against them to gain what he wants. The third time we see Seto's manipulative side come out, it seems he's doing it for good reasons. You see, his adopted father finds out about Seto's holographic technology he has been working on to use to make games. Gozaburo decides he can use it for war purposes and demands Seto to give up his gaming dreams and work with him to make money, profiting from war. Seto does not like this. I guess using his tech to kill a lot of people is just a little too evil for this psychopath, and instead, gaining inspiration from his last big idea, secretly meets with Gozaburo's business partners, the Big Five. He convinces each of them that Gozaburo mistreats them and doesn't give them the respect they deserve, and if they were to help him take control of Kaiba Corp, that he would treat them better and promises them each different things in return for their shares of the company. Upon getting their shares, plus his, he now owns 49% of Kaiba Corp. One decent thing he does do during the big takeover is to ensure that Mokuba doesn't fall victim to his plans. So, in true Seto fashion, he gaslights Mokuba into believing that he leaked the plans to their adopted father, therefore ensuring that if Seto fails, then at least Gozaburo will still take care of Mokuba. Once Gozaburo finds out what Seto is up to, he confronts him and tells him that he has failed, that both of them own a controlling percentage of the company, but since Seto disowned Mokuba, who has 2% of the shares of Kaiba Corp, Mokuba has promised the shares to Gozaburo. But Seto, manipulating his brother once again, convinces him that Gozaburo wants the company for war, while he would take the company in a new direction, one of fun and games, and create a theme park they have always wanted, Kaiba Land. Mokuba, of course, sides with his brother, giving Kaiba his 2% and raising Seto's percentage to 51%, taking full control over Kaiba Corp. Unable to cope with the loss of his company to a child he adopted, clothed, took care of, and educated, unable to process the betrayal of his son, Gozaburo commits suicide. And it doesn't stop there. Oh no. Turns out, Seto has no intentions of following through with his promises to the Big Five. He basically crushes all of their dreams and changes their jobs to better suit the direction he wants to take the company, making tech for the sole enhancement of a children's card game. This is finally where we can get into why Kaiba wants to be the champion of duel monsters, and how he bribed, threatened, and manipulated his way to the top tiers, no skill required. Now, when I say no skill required, I don't mean that Seto isn't a decent duelist. He has always loved and had a connection to duel monsters. He has always dreamed about owning a blue-eyes white dragon. He even has his connections to ancient Egypt and the Millennium Item, just like Yugi Moto. No, I mean he wants to own all the most powerful cards so that there's little to no skill required to win. Such brute force that will guarantee victory no matter what. No matter if a strong opponent challenges him or if he's having an off day. He needs to always be able to win every duel he has, no matter what. So now that he owns Kaiba Corp and has started to make the holographic technology, he sets his eyes on the card he has always wanted, the strongest monster in all the duel monsters, the extremely rare blue-eyes white dragon. So rare because Maximilian Pegasus only printed 4 in total. And keep this in mind because I will come back to Pegasus and his limited prints of cards later. Kaiba set off to all corners of the world in search of the blue-eyes white dragon cards. All of them are in the hands of fanatic collectors all around the world. One in America, one in Germany, and one in Hong Kong. Not a one willing to give them up for any amount of money. So what does our grown-up psychopath do? Well, he forces one of them into bankruptcy, so his only choice is to sell it to him. Another, he makes a deal with the mafia to help him get him. The last, once again, just like his adopted father, he harasses them so much that they commit suicide. He continues his search, but he's unable to find the 4th and last copy. But that's alright. You can only have 3 copies of the same card in one deck anyway. And now that he has the 3 strongest cards ever to exist, his next step is to team up with Industrial Illusions, the company that makes the Duel Monsters card game, and befriend its creator, Maximilian Pegasus. If Kaiba can make a deal with Pegasus and sell him his holographic technology, their partnership would lead to Kaiba Corp getting the data of all cards that have existed and will ever be created. With this data, Kaiba now knows which cards are the best and builds his deck around that knowledge. That's not good enough for old Kaiba boy though. Now that he's rubbing elbows with Pegasus, and now that the two of them have turned this children's card game into the most popular and influential game around the world, this puts Kaiba in the perfect position to ask Pegasus to make him his own copies of cards that no one else has access to. And before you tell me that Pegasus wouldn't do that, remember earlier when I told you I'd come back to Pegasus' habit of making limited runs of cards? Do you see where I'm getting at? If there are only 4 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon, and it is known that all 4 were owned by different people, why would Pegasus make the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon? This card would never be able to be played. However, if a rich and corrupt business partner asked Pegasus to make him his own special cards, once he went around and collected back the Blue Eyes White Dragon cards, then do you think he would? The man who kept Toon World, all the Toon monsters, and relinquished to himself? The same man who created only 1 copy of each Egyptian god card? The Legend of Heart and the Golden Castle Strongbow cards never being released? The truth of the matter is, both Kaiba and Pegasus were in cahoots together. Together, they had created one of, if not the most popular thing since sliced bread. They needed a champion, Seto Kaiba himself, to continue winning so that they could remain relevant to the public and keep raking in the money. So Pegasus would create new and powerful cards just for Kaiba, and Kaiba would use these cards so he could remain on the top tier, and they both could keep rolling in the money as they continued to sell more and more Duel Monsters cards and merchandise. That is, until Kaiba found out where the last Blue Eyes White Dragon card was, manipulated and strong-armed an old man to battle for the card, then once he won, called his grandson to come take him away just so he could rip the card in half in front of them as a show of power, and so that the Blue Eyes White Dragon could never be used against him. Kaiba then accepted a duel from this nobody and promptly got his ass handed to him. Pegasus, hearing about this, realizes that Seto is no longer a reliable business partner, so he does what Seto once did and turned Kaiba's business partners against him in hopes of once again taking full control over Duel Monsters franchise and using Kaiba Corp's technology for his own twisted purposes. Thank you all for listening, and if you enjoyed it, give the video a like. And if you'd like to hear more from me, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm hoping to do more videos like this about other fandoms that I enjoy. Thanks again.